How is it going, everyone? I want to take you guys through some updates on Marathon that Bungie has been dropping without a doubt. Gonna be one of the most interesting games of the year to follow. I am really curious how this game is received right off the bat, and more importantly, obviously, with a game like this, we really won't know the long-term viability of this game until at least 3 weeks after launch, 3 to 6 weeks. Like, the 6-week mark is, I think, when we're really gonna get it settled. However, before I get into this video, I do want to note that our friends at Greenman Gaming do have Marathon on sale, 15% off. You will get it for $34. Use the code FEB15, that's FEB15. You immediately get the key for the game that is on PC and Steam. So if you want it a little bit cheaper, by the way, you won't have to pay tax either. So I'll leave the link to that in the description box below. Standard Edition and the Deluxe Edition are both discounted. And like I said, I do want to take you guys through some updates of the game. Look, I know a lot of you guys still aren't sold on this game based on, you know, Bungie hasn't had the best track record for the last few years, let's just put it that way. And on top of that, the train wreck and disaster that has been this game since its reveal. Obviously, everything going on with the art and everything like that. However, I do want to say that they went back to the drawing board, they reassessed things, and then they re-revealed the game, and what I'm seeing now, I actually think looks pretty decent. I get that we all like to pile on games and crap on them sometimes. However, when a developer goes back and they do reassess things and try to update the experience and make it more in line with what people want, I will give them credit for that. And I know that some people are calling this Concord 2. Look, Concord is an absolutely outrageous disaster that very few games will ever, and I mean ever, replicate again. Do any of you guys really think that Marathon is gonna release and then shut down a week later? No! It already was one of the top sellers on Steam when this game's pre-orders opened up. It's not in the mix right now, but we're still a month away from the release. I very much believe it'll be back in the top sellers, and on top of that, I think when the game comes out, it'll be at, you know, 100,000 concurrent players at the very least on Steam. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I've been wrong before. But I'm pretty confident that at least initially the game is going to have a healthy level of interest. And if you're not sold on the game, well, do note that the Marathon Twitter account has officially announced that Marathon releases March 2026 and everyone will have a chance to play in an open preview weekend before launch. I would imagine that the next PlayStation State of Play that is going to happen, Marathon is going to be a big feature on that State of Play. And I know some people are going to hate to hear that because they're tired of live service games taking precedence in State of Plays and events like that. Guess what? This is a game that, even though it's had its tumultuous timeline and tumultuous events, a game that PlayStation is very much gonna be behind, because any live service game that even has an ounce of potential, PlayStation, Xbox, any entity is absolutely salivating at the thought of maybe we can get that passive revenue. I will also add this, that I think Marathon is gonna do fairly well because I really do believe Arc Raiders has been a rising tides lifts all boats type of situation. I think with Marathon getting delayed and Arc Raiders coming out and being a juggernaut of a success, Marathon now getting a bit of a refresh, and now Arc Raiders elevating the attention of extraction shooters on consoles as well, I think that's going to lead to Marathon at least initially having a healthy level of interest. Now, I've always said it's about viability, long-term viability, and how long will the game be around, and that is unpredictable. That's going to come down to updates, quality level of the game, something we can't predict, but at the very least, they're confident enough to offer an open preview where everybody's going to be able to play the game and try it out, and then we can assess it for ourselves. By the way, Concord's open beta peaked at like 1,800 concurrent players. Do you really think Marathon is going to peak at 1,800 concurrent players when the open preview drops? I don't think so. I think it's going to do pretty darn well. And then, again, the game might be a total failure, but the Concord comparisons, I think, are ridiculous. But at the very least, if you're not completely sold on the game and you're kind of on the fence, you'll have the opportunity to play in an open preview weekend before launch, and we'll see how that's handled. I could see them doing something like, if you pre-order the game, you'll get opportunity to access one weekend, and then there's another weekend that's available for everyone. I really think they should just make the preview weekend available for everyone, because this is a game that you still absolutely need to sell people on. You need to develop a level of goodwill, And that does not come down to people pre-ordering the game that are already sold on the game, playing the game. That certainly doesn't come down to paying streamers to play the game. No, you need to get the wider audience. Do not do a high guard situation here. You need to get the wider audience playing the game. You need to make sure it's good, and that word of mouth carries. And obviously, making sure it's good is easier said than done. But I don't want them to handle it in a, oh, we'll have the weekend available for people that pre-order the game. Oh, we'll have streamers play the game, which is fine. You pay streamers to play the game. I don't care about that, but give people opportunities to check out this game ahead of launch, because still we're in the process of developing and building goodwill, or restoring a level of interest and a level of goodwill that'll make people want to buy the game. But nonetheless, there you go with that. Also, a little bit of a gameplay update as far as the free loadout in Marathon, which is very much causing a little bit of a stir in Arc Raiders. So Marathon does have a system where you'll have shells. Shells are going to be your classes, and there's going to be a variety of different classes. However, you are going to have the option to roll into games as a rook. A rook is their version of the free loadout that is going to mitigate the risk that you'll have playing the game. However, they are going to put some limitations to the rook class, which I think is very good. Now, rooks are going to be loaded into matches later than other players. So the players that are risking their own stuff, they're gonna get into the game quicker, and they're gonna have the opportunity to scavenge gear. On top of that, rooks are only going to be able to queue solo and not while in a group, which that makes sense. I think it would be a little bit awkward if you were a rook and then you were queuing up with people that weren't rook, and then, you know, you had to wait to get into a game. I just think this will ease up the experience quite a lot. The idea being that if you enter a round late, other players that are offering a little bit more of a risk, they're going to have the opportunity to do some things throughout the map, and then also you'll have the option to come in and you'll be able to play the game in a different style. That's what I want out of something like this. I want Rook to offer a different style of play rather than mitigating all risk. Reward the players that are playing with an elevated level of risk, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Arc Raiders has had its fair share of controversy with the free loadout, but hopefully Marathon has figured out a system that will work well for the style of game that it is. I do want to round out this video by noting two things. They have been rolling out cinematic videos for various shells, the classes that will be available in the game, and I think Bungie does cinematics fairly well to at least set the tone. Cinematics are what they are. Like, I'm not crazy about cinematic videos, but if you want to set the tone, and there are people that watch cinematic videos and they get very excited. The Assassin Shell cinematic has dropped, and last week they did drop the Destroyer Shell cinematic, which again, it kind of sets the tone for what to expect out of these classes, and the classes of availability in Marathon hopefully will add a layer to the gameplay and all of the options that will be available. Look, I'm not completely sold on Marathon. Am I as down on the game as a lot of other people? I don't think I'm anywhere near as down as other people. I actually look at this game and I'm like, there might be some potential here, and if we have more extraction shooters on consoles, yes, I know Tarkov's been around for a long time, but more extraction shooters on consoles that make an impact, look, Arc Raiders is a juggernaut, a massive game, and I think there's gonna be people that are like, hey, I enjoyed Arc Raiders, this is the other game that's in the market that's coming from Bungie, creators of Halo. I do believe it's gonna inherently have that initial level of interest that is gonna make it orders of magnitude bigger than a Concord, orders of magnitude bigger than lots of other live service games. I think it'll do better than High Guard, and High Guard was a free-to-play title. This is a $39.99 pickup. If you want to wait to pick it up, again, I totally understand that. The free open test is gonna happen, and fingers crossed they have it open for actually everybody, and they don't try to do some nonsense with, oh my god, you gotta pre-order the game. I just think you need to sell people on this game, and an open test being open to everybody, I think, will do a lot of good. Like I said, link in the description box below if you do want to pick up a Steam copy a little bit cheaper. We do get an affiliate kickback on that, so that's much appreciated. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.